Welcome to the Tank Arena series, where we will be comparing various tanks and awarding points in different categories that include firepower, fire control system, protection, survivability and mobility. 100 points maximum for each category, which would make it 500 points in total. And based on that, we will see which one would be a better tank. Also, we will compose a list and put tanks in place they deserve, and in the end, we will take a look at all the tanks we have compared and sort them from the best to the worst. In this episode, we will be comparing Chinese Type 96B and Russian T-72B3 model 2016, but we will call it T-72B3M because it's shorter. Let's start with firepower. Type 96B is armed with 125mm ZPT-98 gun, which is same in performance as Russian 2A46M1 gun, but on Type 96B it has been upgraded to the level of 2A46M5 gun. It can fire 125-2 and 125-3 APFSDS projectiles, BTJ-2 heat projectile with 650mm penetration, high explosive fragmentation and anti-tank guided missiles. The 125-2, when fired from Type 96B's gun, is said to have around 650mm penetration at 2 km. However, there is no information about 125-3, but is believed to have around 700mm penetration. T-72B3M is armed with 125mm 2A46M5 gun and can fire 3BM-59's -1 APFSDS projectile, which has 370mm penetration at 60 degrees, which would suggest around 700mm at 90 degrees. It can also use 3BK-31 heat projectile with 800mm penetration, new Telnik multi-purpose high explosive fragmentation projectile and ATGMs. So, Type 96B receives 78 points for firepower and T-72B3M receives 80 points. That is because T-72B3M has multi-purpose high explosive fragmentation projectile compared to standard high explosive fragmentation of Type 96B. That is only reason since heat penetration does not matter that much in modern warfare. Type 96B fire control system consists of second generation thermal imaging system for gunner, but commander has no thermal imager. Instead of that, commander has infrared viewer, but has his own monitor where he can access gunner's thermal. The case is the same with T-72B3. Gunner has Catherine FC second generation thermal imaging system, but commander doesn't have any thermal, thus can take control of gunners with the monitor placed in front of him. The only main difference in fire control system with these two tanks is that Type 96B has muzzle reference system that improves gun accuracy. With that being said, Type 96B receives 72 points for fire control system and T-72B3 receives 70 points. Next up is protection. Type 96B retains same base armor as Type 96A, which is, without any explosive reactive armor, rated to be around 600mm on turret and 450mm on hull. But it has FY4 ERA, which is reverse-engineered Russian relict ERA, that would make armor equivalent to around 850mm against kinetic energy projectiles and around 1100 to 1200mm against heat on the turret and around 700mm against kinetic energy and 900 to 1000mm against heat on the hull, with addition of protection against tandem-shaped projectiles. T-72B3M is equipped with Contact 5 ERA, and according to Alexei Klopotov, the armor is rated around 650 to 670mm against kinetic energy projectiles and around 800mm against heat on both hull and turret, which is significantly worse than one of Type 96B. The only good thing is that it has add-on armor on the side of the hull, which gives it advantage to Type 96B in that area of protection. And just like Type 96B on the sides of the turret, it has ERA that offers protection against tandem-shaped projectiles. So, when it comes to protection, Type 96B gets 75 points and T-72B3M gets 65 points for obvious reasons. Regarding the survivability of those two tanks, they both suffer from the same problem, and that is that they have carousel of ammunition on the bottom of the hull without any additional protection, which when struck can result in catastrophic explosion. The good thing is that it is on the bottom of the hull, and thus it is hard to be ignited. Russian studies have revealed that most of explosions happen when rounds that were stored in the turret get ignited and thus catching carousel on fire. And until recently it was common practice in Russia that tanks had rounds stored in the back of the turret, but not anymore. Which is the case with the new T-72B3M, where it no longer has stowage for ammunition at the back of the turret. And since their survivability is practically identical, both of those tanks get 65 points. Now the mobility. Type 96B is powered with liquid-cooled 150 HP variant engine, which is reverse-engineered Russian V92S2F that is used on T-72B3M, and both of those engines have 1130 horsepower with 2000 RPM, that produce maximum torque of 4521 Nm. On top of that, both tanks are upgraded with new automatic transmission and new powertrain. Type 96B weighs 45 tons and has maximum speed of 70 to 75 km per hour, where T-72B3M weighs 46 tons and maximum speed of 75 km per hour. The only notable difference between those two tanks is that unlike T-72B3M, Type 96B can rotate around its own axis, which gives it slight advantage in mobility. Type 96B gets 88 points for mobility and T-72B3M gets 85 points because of Type 96's slight advantage in pivoting and weight. Now let's take a look at the final score. In firepower, Type 96B received 78 points and T-72B3M received 80 points. For fire control system, Type 96B received 72 points while T-72B3M received 70 points. For protection, Type 96B received 75 points and T-72B3M received 65 points. For survivability, both tanks scored 65 points, and in mobility, Type 96B received 88 points, while T-72B3M received 85 points. So in total, Type 96B gets 378 points and T-72B3M gets 365 points. So, as we can see, Type 96B scored slightly more than T-72B3M, mainly due to its superior protection. And that is it. If you like my content, consider supporting me on Patreon, join my Discord server if you have some questions or just want to chat, and thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a nice day.